Students, now we are moving to the next topic, that is the setting up a new administration system in India by the Britishers. Warren Hastings, he became the Governor General in 1773 and he remained Governor General of India up to 1785. He was one of the many important figures who played a significant role in the expansion of the company power. By his time, the company had acquired power not only in Bengal but also in Bombay and Madras. British territories were broadly divided into administrative units called presidencies, and these three presidencies at that time the India was divided into three presidencies by the Britishers for the administration purpose, and these presidencies were Bombay, Bengal, and Madras. Each was ruled by the governor. The supreme had to be administration was the Governor General. Warren Hastings, he was the first Governor General, introduced several administrative reforms, notably in the sphere of justice. From 1772, a new system of justice was established. Each district had two courts, criminal courts, and that is known as Fauzdari Adalat and Civil Court. So in this way, new system of justice was introduced in 1772. New system of justice was divided the district into the criminal court and civil court. The criminal court was known as Fauzdari Adalat and civil court was known as Diwani Adalat. These courts were under a Qazi and a Mufti but under the supervision of the collector. In civil court, Maulvis and Hindu Pandit interpreted Indian laws for the European district collectors. Children, as we know that the courts were under the Maulvis and Muftis, so it was difficult for the Britishers. So the major problem was that the Brahmin Pandits have different interpretations of local laws, which was based on the different schools of Dharma Shastras. To bring about uniformity, in 1775, 11 Pandits were asked to compose a digest of Hindu laws. N.B. Hallard translated this digest into English, and by 1778, a code of Muslim laws was also compiled for the benefit of European judges. Children, under the Recollecting Act 1773, a new Supreme Court was established, while the Court of Appeal, the Sadar Nizamat Adalat, was also set up at Calcutta. So students, the principal figure in an Indian district was the collector. Its main job was to collect revenue and taxes, maintain law and order in his district. With the help of the judges, police officers and darogas, the collectors become the new centers of power and patronage that steadily replace previous holders of authority. Children, now we are moving to the last topic of the chapter, the company army. Colonial rule in India brought in some new ideas of administration and reform, but its power rested on its military strength. The Mughal army was mainly composed of cavalry, that is the Sawars, trained soldiers on the horseback, and infantry, that is Padal foot soldiers. They were given training in archery, tir andazi, and the use of the sword. The cavalry dominated the army, and the Mughal state did not feel the need to have a large professionally trained infantry. The rural areas had a large number of armed peasants, and the local zamindars often supplied the Mughals with the paddle soldiers. So, in this way, the army during the Mughal period was divided into cavalry, that is the sawars, and infantry, that is the paddle soldiers. Trained soldiers, these cavalries were the trained soldiers on horseback, whereas the paddle soldiers trained in archery and so. The cavalry dominated the army, and infantry did not play a major role. So a change occurred in 18th century when the Mughal successors, states like Awadh and Banaras, started recruiting peasants into their armies and training them as a professional soldiers. The East India Company adopted the same method when it began recruitment for its own army, which came to be known as the Sepoy Army, from the Indian word Sipahi, which means soldier. As warfare technology changed from 1820s, the cavalry requirements of the company arm declined. This is because the British Empire was fighting in Burma, Afghanistan, and Egypt, where soldiers were armed with muskets and matchlocks. The soldiers of the company's army had to keep pace with changing military requirements, and its infantry regiments now became more important. So, in the early 19th century, the British began to develop a uniform military. As you see in the picture, uniform military culture. Soldiers were now increasingly subjected to European style training, their drill and discipline that regulated their life for more than before. This often created problems since caste and community feelings were ignored in building a force of professional soldiers. So the company army, as forward technology changed from the 1820s, cavalry requirements for the company's army declined. Now the British Empire was fighting in Burma, Afghanistan, and Egypt, where soldiers were armed with the muskets and matchlocks. So in this way, another changes in the company army was uniform military culture. Soldiers were increasingly subjected to the European style training, drill and discipline. Often this created problems since caste and community feelings were ignored, building a force of professional soldiers. Religious society. Now we are reaching to the conclusion. Thus, the East India Company was transformed from the trading company to the territorial colonial power. By 1857, the company came to exercise direct rule over about 63% of the territory and 78% of the population of Indian subcontinent, combined with its indirect influence on the remaining territory and population of the country. The East India Company had virtually the whole of India under its control. So students, after completion of the chapter, now we reach to the last questionnaire. My first question is, what constituted the Mughal army? Second, name the Governor General who initiated Para-Mountaincy. Third question, what changes had been introduced in army by British? Fourth question, when the Regulating Act was passed? And fifth question, what were the administrative units called, and name three presidencies? So students, now write down the answers of these questions and send it to your subject teacher.